Caraway, I mean, 2 sacks last week. Is he maybe slowly developing into a guy that can get a little bit more pressure in the backfield and be that guy that
certainly
you need?
hope so. I mean, we've always had really high hopes for him, and he hadn't played up until 6 games ago. So, I know sometimes expectations kind of way out there, but he's gotten better every week, and he had 2 really nice rushes. Thought he had a good game overall for us, and he and Jack pretty much split those reps there at the end, and. That's just kind of our group. It's not really the same guy every week. It's different guys emerge, and I think when you have some depth and you've got guys that are pushing each other across the board, sometimes it's a guy's opportunity and he cashes in. So he certainly did last week. I thought those 2 tackles were good players for them, and I thought he had a couple of really nice rushes and cashed in, and those were big plays for us.
But he was standing out in the spring.
He was.
What did he do? What has allowed him to maintain what he did in the spring now as you've gotten into the season?
I think it's just his general progress overall. I mean, he came in last year and obviously he wasn't ready to play, and he redshirted, and he took advantage of going against our 1s and 2s every day. And the guys that do that are going to just – I'm not saying it's across the board, but there's an opportunity to get a lot better. And he certainly did from, when he first started – 2 fall camps ago, and just progressively has gotten better. And they had a good spring. Sometimes you got to temper expectations in spring just because you're going against each other and you've got guys that are nicked up. But no, I love Caraway. He's got length. He's a good athlete, not a great athlete, but I think he uses his length well. And like I say, had a couple really nice rushes last week, and we just need to keep it up.
Is Nick Caraway continuing to develop like you anticipated?
Yeah, he does. He gets better every time he goes out there. And Nick's just a big, athletic young man. He had a really nice play early. I forget if his first or second play. The quarterback, I'm going to mispronounce his name, so I was just Talia, right? I'm not going to even try the last name.
Tangalaboa.
But Nick kind of came in and Talia broke contain a little bit, but Nick was right back out there on him, and got a quarterback hit on him. And I told him if he'd stayed outside initially, probably got a sack because we got pretty good pressure from the field. But he does. Nick's like a sponge, and he, I think he's a guy that wants to learn, and there's a lot of attention to detail day in and day out. He wants to grow. He wants to mature, and we were able to feed him a bunch of reps last week, and even though it's not as polished as we'd always like it to be as coaches, sometimes he's just getting better every time out. So
3 Big Ten games, run defense only giving up about 72 yards a game. Now, granted, you didn't have to face Mohammed against Minnesota, but still, now you're going to get in a stretch here where you got Grant this week, you got Allen next week, and then Chase Brown down the road here. But just what has been the key to the run defense, bottling up people the way that you guys have done?
Well, I think number one, it's Coach English's mindset. I mean, we've been fitting the runs since January, since we came back from our short break after the Music City Bowl, if you really want to call it that. I think it was less than a week, but we just started those OTAs, and it was run fits every day. That's where it starts, right? Because you've got to be gap sound. You've got to have guys in the right spot, and then obviously we've got to play physical, right? I mean, that's Big Ten football. It's a big boys league. It's a line of scrimmage league, and but it's all levels, right? I mean, you got to get it up front. You got to get it from the backers getting downhill, and you got to have the secondaries guys, fitting as well. So I just think it's been a group effort, but it's a mindset. I mean, that's what Ron's all about. Is no matter if you're going into a game where you're playing a passing team, you got to stop the run, right? Got to make teams one-dimensional, or at least try to. And we've had a fair amount of success. Some of the quarterback runs have gotten us. Need to do a better job there, but we're going to continue to face great backs. Like you said, this week with number 10, and it's just going to get tougher week in and week out. So we're not certainly going to sit back and think about what's happened so far. We know each week brings a new challenge, and this week we're getting a team that's won 2 in a row, right? And I just reminded my guys outside that this is a football team. You look at the past couple of seasons, maybe even longer than that. They've been in about every game. right? They've lost a bunch of one-score games. Well, now they've won 2 in a row, so they've got confidence. They're coming in here. They're not going to fear us at all. They've got a lot of good players across the board, and we need to bring our A game on Saturday for sure.
But how much is that the depth playing a role in limiting the run, especially when you get in the second half?
Well, I think it helps. It certainly helps up front. I think we don't have anybody right now that's got to go out and play 50, 60, 70 snaps. And the key is when you sub some guys in there, there's not a huge drop off. But that's the challenge, right? As we get into the thick of the Big Ten season, you got Nebraska, right? You got Wisconsin, you got Illinois, you got Iowa, you got a lot of teams that want to run the football, right? So we just we got to continue to push each other and stay healthy and just do the little things that have been successful so far.
Have you tightened the rotation, Mark?
In some respects, but in other respects, I think we played a dozen guys last week, and that was a 2-point game. So now, the reps are not all equal across the board, right? Our ones are gonna still get the majority, and between the ones and the twos, it's a lot closer. Like I say, last week at defensive end, I think Jack was somewhere like 35 or 36, and Corday was low 30s, so that was pretty close. But there's other positions where there's a bigger, there's a bigger disparity. I tell you, one guy that's coming along and he needs to keep it up is Cole Brevard. Cole Brevard's given us a physical presence behind Lawrence, and when Mo's been in there, Mo's done a good job too. We're trying to get Mo in there more in some passing situations to give us some mobility, at that nose position. But been pleasantly, surprised. We certainly talked a lot in the preseason about losing to Marjay, and that was a big loss. But I think those two guys have really stepped up and provided some good depth at that spot for us. But we just gotta continue to do the little things. And yeah, we've tightened it a little bit. But at the end of the day, we still, I think, got 11 or 12 guys out there. And sometimes it might just be a couple of snaps. It was, we're in that 2-minute situation. Yanni got a couple snaps for us late. We didn't, we went to Nick more than Scotty really during the game for various reasons. But we had to, when you get 4 Leos out there, you got to be able to, get the first 2, you got to give them a blow, right? And the next 2 had to come out there, and I thought they gave us a couple good snaps there late in the game.
Has all this depth allowed you to get a little bit more creative than what you normally would with, like you said, you get 4 Leos out there, or you can put kind of 4 different guys out there depending on the situation?
You do. We've got some different packages that we use. Now, within those packages, I don't know how creative we've gotten. I mean, sometimes, you get that speed package out there where you get a couple Leos and, you bump your ends inside. There's a variety of pass rush games that you can use and go to, but I'll tell you, at the end of the day, our guys just like to straight rush as much as anything. And I think that's been more of a formula for success for us so far. We'll see. We'll continue to pop some of those games in there because, some O-lines don't handle that real well. So we'll just continue to experiment with what we're doing.
I mean, Lawrence came off some off-season surgeries, but how much has the depth kind of kept his snap count down and allowed him to manage this season probably in a different way than maybe last year?
A lot. And I kind of alluded to it earlier with Cole, right? I think, Cole's been in there those back-to-back weeks and some of those short yardage situations where we've gotten some key stops. He's one of the strongest guys on our team. I have to check with Reno exactly, but I mean, he is a 300 and almost 25-pound strong individual, and I think. But the thing that he's been able to do is he's cleaned up his technique a lot since he's gotten here, and he's developed some confidence. Once you start to get out there and play, I think that that just naturally gives you some confidence. And then Mo as well behind him. I think Mo just gives us some mobility at that nose position. So all 3 guys are a little bit different, but I think being able to play Cole and Mo has been able to help Lawrence by not just stacking, a ton of snaps and hopefully keep him a little bit healthier at this point than maybe last year.